Hello, everybody. We're gonna get started. Oh, we haven't been. All right, folks, welcome. There's a lot of talk, which is good. We like to talk. I'm gonna give you some poetry to sprinkle in with the talk, and then we're gonna talk more. And talk more, and then more poetry, and then eat. All right. Everybody got a seat? Does everybody have a seat? Everybody comfortable? You got a seat? Okay. You see, okay. Before I had a seat, we got a seat. All right. Welcome to the March meeting. I feel like I need to say something like a pep talk, but I probably don't with this group. But I just want to say, like, I think if you're not creating, you're probably destroying. So I think we're more important than ever. I hope everybody's writing furiously at this point, and maybe doing something in the community, and maybe calling whoever your people in legislature are. I urge you to do it. It's not that hard. I harangued my congresswoman's assistant for about 15 minutes the other day, and it seemed to, I don't know what it did, but maybe it registered something, and I had a clever electoral plea to go along with my moral plea. So we are electoral, we are moral, and we are mostly thought people. So we need to keep thinking. So that's it. That's my pep talk. Hang in there. I've been watching old documentary videos of Richard Nixon's presidency, which actually kind of lifts the spirits. It's a means of self-soothing. Like we've sort of been there before. Yeah, it's not hopeless. For some hope, we turn to people like Cat Wolper and C. Williams, who are good. You're gonna walk out here transformed tonight. I promise. Transformed. Let me introduce Cat first. Cat is a poet from Erie, PA, a child of the Rocky Mountains. That's where in the Rocky Mountains?
Parker was part of Denver, well, part of Denver now. It was a separate town when I lived there, and now Denver swallowed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it'll spit it. Yeah.
No.
What would be better? Denver's
It's all good together now.
Okay, well, all right, straight from Denver, Colorado, everybody. She's been writing since she was a preteen, using her words to make sense of her inner and outer worlds. She has seen her work in print at Poets Hall Press, Mr. Williams' press over there, as well as the Our Favorites collaboration in her books, Disregard the Fire and Cutouts. She is an active member of the Erie poetry community. Cat Wolper, everybody.
Good morning, afternoon, evening. Nice to see you guys. I love reading at new venues. This is exciting. And I was given 20 minutes. I'm like, oh my God. So I write in themes. I don't know if you guys tend to come back to the same types of themes. So I'm just gonna do like a couple of this theme, a couple of this themes, and we'll see how it goes. So given the current climate, I'm gonna start with and then we'll get into some Kurdish stuff, and then we'll get into some Greek stuff, and then I don't know what else, and we'll figure it out. So this first one is because I don't know about you guys, but like we were talking about, like being creative or being destructive, and I have had a hard time writing since November. So for some reason, so I'm trying to free up my pen to get some stuff out because there's a whole bunch of stuff happening inside, but I haven't gotten it out. But this is what I have so far, or at least a sampling of. So this was from November 5th, Election Day 2024. The world holds its collective breath as my country votes for a leader. Amid early cries, of fraud and trickery in case someone doesn't get their way and they demand a recount. Or just demand the Electoral College choose them anyhow, no matter what the voters did in their booths. The world knows the outcome will affect lands across the globe as the powerful nation transitions to a new administration which will war with or support other nations, which will war with or support its citizens, which will war with or support its institutions. Will the transition go smoothly, or will there be unrest, riots, broken windows, neighbor versus neighbor in the streets? When can we breathe a sigh of relief? And the answer is not yet. Work to do. When you have work to do, it will feel like a tug on the heart. It may come with words like, somebody ought to do something about that, or this isn't the right way, there's a better way. When the tug has to do with something that will make the community stronger, healthier, with increased cohesion and longevity, if one ignores the tug, it will turn sour into depression. Why doesn't someone do something about that? Isn't it time something changes? When the words alchemize, one will feel better. Who is doing something? How can I volunteer to help? How can I organize some people to help me fill this need? How can I do my part? When you have work to do, you had better start doing it. Occupy Mars. This one's for my dad who wore an Occupy Mars shirt. Just putting that out there. Let's occupy Mars someday soon. Forget living on Earth, it's too peoply here. Let's go to the land of red clay, meet the Martians, go underground if the lack of atmosphere upsets us. We will work for masters on the green, blue orb far away for pennies a day. There are no oversights on workers' rights on Mars. No family ties to properties, no history of borders and rulers, no one to claim religious claims to this mountain or that lake basin. No flags, no maps, no atlas, no highways. No one has divided up this red clay from that over there. Let's occupy Mars. We can build it however we like. Propaganda cure. They were fed a diet of fear and propaganda. They couldn't critique the lies. They didn't compare reports. They didn't notice the projection, saying others were cheating in ways they were actually cheating. Like the extra jealous lover questioning all calls when they were the one with the side piece. When news stations said all news stations were slanted, choose stories stretched the truth, so it was okay to be more blatantly slanted. Choose stories blended with fabrication, openly slight guests and interviewees. Create a world that doesn't actually exist, then fight people who don't wish harm. When all they need to do is travel a little, meet people outside their bubble, say hello in 12 languages, smile in all of them, to realize the truth of one's neighbors. Right, and then we'll pick one more of these. And then we'll move on to something else. I figured it out. Okay. I'm checking to see if I figured it out. Okay, I have two more. Three more. Okay, three more and then I'll move on. Okay, this is Thanksgiving. It hurts any way you go. You can break bread with them, rub elbows with people who helped bring about a leader you mistrust. You can be disinvited. no invite to decline, no invite at all, silence ringing. Or you can say no thanks to the plate of thankfulness, feeling little to be thankful for. It hurts any way you go, left, right, or center, they all feel like something is off with our connection to each other because of worldviews, belief systems, and moral compass, strategies, and how or if to make the world a better place and for whom. Resistance isn't futile after all. Without resistance, there can be no breakthrough. If you help the monarch or the eagle emerge from their confinement, they may die rather than spread wings. If you pull the arrow back, but there is no bowstring, the arrow will fall to the ground, target safe. If you pull on the door, key and lock, and the door keeps swinging, it will never release the key. If you twist the screw and it keeps turning, it will never squeeze snugly to hold fast. If you lukewarm believe in a better way, it will never boil over the flames of injustice into a new world. There is blessing hidden in the curse, pushing against the movement into a new day. Okay, and then this is my last political piece, and I'll move on to spiritual stuff. And then it'll get better. Okay, grounding in the senses. To calm down, I turn to my senses, all wired for action or playing dead, tuned to the key of fear. 5 things I can hear, untruth after untruth met with applause. Asking difficult, poignant questions met with refusal to answer. Protests on the street and at the slopes cutting downtime short. Complaints that only those other people should be losing jobs. International allegiances crashing like porcelain. 4 things I can hear, or 4 things I can see. Brazen Nazi salutes in public. Swastikas on angular vehicles. Stock market numbers crashing. Arguments tearing communities apart. 3 things I can touch. My closest friends, reality, empathy. 2 things I can smell. Change in the air, like it's about to rain justice. A sea change, a rat. 1 thing I can taste, blood. Okay, and then we will do some spiritual stuff. Hopefully this is a little better. It's all the same thing. I've said this before, but it bears repeating, how all longing is the same longing, like how all water is the same water, no matter the location, the container, the contaminants, or the cocktail, the cycle is the same. The river flows to the ocean of the great longing, which is within us all, takes on the guise of thirsting, whether for answers, enigmas, safety, surprises, routines, adventures, peace, power, things, experiences, relationships, all of it is thirsting for the substance or non-substance of the great longing, the great absence, the great rush, the great void, which can only be filled with paradox, non-doing, non-being, add more void to void. Fall into the great hole like Alice and become weightless, burdenless, needless, and free. It says mantra, but it's not about that. Okay. Okay, loving nature. I am made of love. It's my nature. It's my atoms, my chemistry, my electricity. I know how to provide romantic love, to give and receive pleasure, to let you know you are capable and deserving of bodily bliss. I know how to provide friendship love, to support, comfort, and accompany you on this journey, to let you know you are not alone. I know how to provide motherly love, to nurture, support, encourage, and challenge you, to let you know you are cared for. You can reach your dreams with a little push. Like the sun shining on the sea, there's no withholding, no shadowy hole on the horizon, no reason not to bask in the bliss. First for the milk. This one's for Ramdas. I heard him say, everything is grist for the mill, like fuel for the fire, like a springboard to the depths of the divine. In practice, everything has been grist for the mill of the poetry altar, burning the oil in the lamp, ink for the pen, food for the muse, compost for the garden. The purpose of the poetry is a smell like an incense to the infinite, music for the ears of the ultimate, setting a jewel on the great lady's tiara, a texture for the rug under the feet of the Savior, a fuel for the fire of the kitchen, which feeds soup to its seekers, who will taste and see that the Lord is good.
Right.
Two kinds of art. Which is greater, the mountain or the alpine water which reflects it? The Washington Monument or the reflecting pool? The mural or the mirror? The moon or its double in the sea? Which is greater, the beloved or the eyes which reflect that greatness? The eternal or that which sees the expanse? The sacred hum or the wall which magnifies the sound in echoes? Which is greater, the full or the empty? Joy and sorrow. Can you follow me up the stairs, through the skylight, into the sky? Can you taste the cotton candy awareness that all is perfect, even the imperfections? Can you keep your humanity through the bliss? Can your heart break and beam simultaneously? Open your chest, show me the pulse, let me listen to the beat, let me hear it proclaim its purpose, and see how my heart answers. This one is a baseball home. Patron saint of the players. Looking out at the playing field, I imagine I am everyone's mother, caring that everyone gets home uninjured, caring about manners and good sportsmanship, wishing everyone to learn and grow from the game, wishing everyone a happy trip back home, but not so jolly that the next game is spoiled. I am the protector, provider, and cheerleader. I have no favorites. But when the championship is on the line, I know deep down it's more fun to choose a side and root for the home team. And okay, I'll end with this one for this theme, and then we'll move on to the Greek stuff. Okay, this is heavenly cookies. There is nothing as satisfying after a long, difficult day as grandma's cookies, pies, and rolls. With a cup of milk and her warm embrace, her listening ear, her supportive hand. I would be willing to wander these woods for hours just for one bite of her cheesecake. I would tear my clothing on briars, wear my shoes thin, soak in the rain, chill in the autumn winds, wandering my way without map, knowing her cabin is here somewhere, and I will find it if I keep searching. Once I get a whiff of grandma's cookies, cooling on windowsill, No amount of false directions will persuade me to change course. I can smell them and my nose doesn't lie. I know her recipe anywhere, and I know I'm on the right track to heaven. Oh, okay. One more and then switching gears. Harmonizing joy. Let joy harmonize with anything else here, like the drone in the bagpipe song, underscoring the melody like a constant reminder of the grand perfection, or the highlighted word in the text, focusing on the main point. Let joy become a constant companion, helping anything else that comes taste less bitter, leave sooner, leave no footprints in the snow on my heart. Let joy take charge, like increasing helium in the balloon, rising oneself to new heights, not above others in rank, just in spaciousness, buoyancy, resilience, and courage. And then I have a couple copies of this left. If you guys are interested, it's $10. And this, it has like an open, like we used to do back at the hall. So that like the first part of it is a whole bunch of artists. And then I have the feature spot at the back. So I have a bunch of polls. So this one is open door policy. I open my door to you and let you step inside the dust and clutter of my grief. Come in and help me sort the clothes. Talk to me through my memories of old moments. I am master of misery and lord of laughs. I know there must be belly laughs with the heartache, pleasure alongside the pain, sorrow with the sorting. The old and the new snuggle together in stacks. I open my door to let them go, the shirts, shoes, pants, and coats. Let them sit and wait for the drive to their new homes, new beginnings on new shoulders. Cutouts. I know the shape that remains in the heart when all that is left are remains. I know the severed ropes, the fraying edges which cry out for wholeness, the swaying rope ladder which dangles into the chasm. I know the missing future where tomorrow hides in fog, where the ticket lost the show, when the lifetime supply runs dry. Yet I still invite you in to help fill the silence, to help numb and soothe the pain, to sing to the lonely thoughts so they can slumber, hopeful that tomorrow will be tender. I still let you hold me, cradle my worries, rock my anxiety, kiss the forehead of my grief. I still let you in, even knowing the shape of the pain you will leave when you must go at last. Pages of love. I know what love looks like through the front door, when the sun comes through the door's window from inside to shine on the welcome mat, when the interior looks like your favorite reading nook next to a bowl of your famous chili, warmed by your quilt and your best dog friend. I know what love looks like after crossing the threshold, when it leaves its socks on the floor and musty towels in the hamper, when the pot boils over and the baby cries, and the boss yells, and the roof leaks, and the trash wasn't taken out last week, and the water got in the food dish, and no one noticed. So now we are hosting a generation of baby flies, and they scare me too much for me to sweep them up. I know what love looks like from the back door, when it has slammed behind me on the way out to the cold backyard, which may or may not be mine. I know the back door is harder to see through, how the blinds are drawn and the lights are out. I know the memories that pass by are distorted in the glass, rippling exaggerations into the smiles and the frowns. I know I cannot look backwards forever, but nostalgia is my favorite smell, and that seems to be all I planted, all that blooms its perfume in this darkness. covered mirrors. I understand now why people cover mirrors when grief has lightning struck, throwing everyone nearby off balance. I thought at one time it was to stop focusing on vanity. Leave misplaced hair alone. Don't touch up the lipstick. Don't cover up the angry pimple. But now I see it is to avoid seeing the grief and the pain, to know the sorrow is in the heart without seeing it on the face, which may help prevent bursts of tears and lengthy restroom stays shaken with thunder, until composure, or something like it, returns, smoothing over the creases in the face, if only for a moment, like the fabric which covers the mirrors with mercy. Meantime, forever in the meantime, between baby loss and newborn smell, between job loss and new key card, between the widow and the bride, between the grail and the quest, between my first day and my casket, hours to spend. In the meantime, shall I Wolper transform them into peace, fold them into swan, feed them onto cords that will bind our hearts together, dissolve them into bliss, sprinkle them like sparkles, like stars, take them onto wounds, kiss them into scars. Ours, not lost, but found here in the meantime. Healing inside out. Make the commitment to heal. Vow to take care of yourself through thick and thin, especially through the thin. Take candlelit baths on Fridays to wash away the week's stress. Dance in the kitchen every other midnight and every full moon. Tiptoe through the grasses at the beach. Make eye contact with the gulls. Tell them how your day is going. Listen to the creatures sharing your backyard. The crickets, robins, crows, bees, and squirrels. They have their stories too. Read the pages of your old journals. Identify with the protagonist, and remember, this is only a story where you are the author with the power to say how it ends. And then I have one to leave you with. Ultimate truth. There is no time to tell the truth like goodbye when you both know this is it. Say it, now or never. Say it like you mean it, like it's the phrase that will ring in the ears for years. Say it like truth with a capital T, like scripture, like words to live by, like it's the sum of the whole, the moral of this story, the jewel in the crown, the keystone in the arch. Say it, then seal it with a kiss.
All right. I'm gonna bring the seat up now, and move right into. Particularly reliant on my phone for things like bios, it's terrible, I could have printed this out, but I couldn't. Let this be a lesson for you. Well, I want to see all the comments next time. Sea lions, like, one more round of the top, please. Sea lions. Sea resides in Erie, Pennsylvania. In fact, both of our features reside in Erie, Pennsylvania. He is the founder, creator, and operator of Poets Hall. And Kat, you mentioned, you called it the Hall. We'll talk more about the Hall later. And Poets Hall Press. He has authored several poetry collections from Poets Hall Press, as well as chapbook-length collections in collaboration with Cleveland, Ohio-based poetry publisher Crisis Chronicles Press, which is run by John Burroughs, who has been here as a feature as well. And Writing Nights Press, several collections, 12 poems, Bus Riders in the Storm, My America, 9 poems from Sister Lucille, and The Awkwardness of Adulating Flowers. His work has also appeared in various journals and anthologies, including Protic, Two Bridges Review, which I used to have the privilege of editing, and the forthcoming Keystone Contemporary Poetry Anthology produced by Penn State Youth Press. One.
Folks. Nice group of folks. Some of these little towns, you never know what might happen. I mean, I've done this for a long time. I've been in, what coffee shops that you and the employee. Sorry. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I think it's, I don't know, it's been years since I planned anything out. We just get up here and kind of hope you can gauge the room and reach some points that they might enjoy. Luckily I had a bag full of books from a thing I had to do for college in town, so that's what you guys get. It's stuff from the bag full of books. All right, I'm gonna read from Poetry for Cats. It's a little collection that we did so we could raise some money for a local animal shelter. This is William. It's 3 a.m. and I am outside smoking with the stray cats who become less so with every bowl of food and blanket I leave out for them. There was a man who cared for them, the neighborhood strays, plates of tuna or dry food for each one every morning. They would gather outside his door and rub his legs, and he would assemble the chow line. Some of them he named, some of them he just fed every day until he passed. Strange. After his passing, the hose on the side of the house sprung a leak, and it puddled in the little alleyway, and the block felt as though a part of it had drifted away. He was a kind man from what I knew, kind enough to offer a ride, kind enough to say hello, kind enough to learn your name, ask about your favorite sports team, kind enough to buy a chapbook he probably never read. His name was William. He asked me to call him Billy. His funeral was held in an old Catholic church, a cathedral perhaps would best describe it. It was a place full of lavish piety. I'd forgotten about the kneeling, and then remembered the Stations of the Cross, and the mourners seemed too few, and the eulogy was long and dry and read by someone I'd never seen before. She called him Uncle Billy. Uncle Billy died swimming to a rock 100 yards offshore. He'd swum there countless times before, but today his father called him home. The cats seemed to know. They just moved on quickly onto chipmunks and swallows, field mice and spiders, and part-time insomniacs who leave blankets out for them. One day, my father will call me home, and the church will be humble, and the mourners will be few, and some will call me by some name other than my given one, and the cats will move on. But this is volume. Joy is for the birds. Mail order brides are a real thing. Smack addicts pay their rent in cash. If asked, they don't say a word when the ottoman and the sweaty mattress find their way onto the curb. She has curves like the Amur River. Red afro, doesn't speak much English, is down to plot the annexation of vacant lots for crops and spillover from the chop shop. Vanya smiles a lot. He waves hello. He says hello. Sometimes he prances to the little garage where he does what one does with vehicles arriving at 1 a.m. with questionable titles and questionless drivers. I did not know his wife's name. I only learned his name after reading a poem by a better poet who used to live in this neighborhood. Vanya is the kind of a man that poets would be drawn to. Quiet, confident, collects his due in hard currency from the sometimes strung out and transient tenants, quick to change a lock and or throw someone shit out in the street, a glow to his cheeks that may have arrived with her. I hear his Russian radio programs through the garage door while sitting on my porch. It's like background music from an 80s spy thriller with all the ominous American propaganda attached, flickering away among the whirl of his power tools. I've watched him the way porch sitters do. They watch their neighbors. I've watched him mow his little patch of grass and prune his Persian lilacs and sell towel-covered chrome auto parts at midnight and on occasion hold cars that were different colors only 4 nights before. But we never spoke. Not once in 8 years. He's so different now. Vanya smiles a lot. He waves hello. He says hello. He holds her hand and they walk through the park and they plant tomatoes in the expanse of the newly squatted side yard. She wipes the windows down and fills the bird feeders while he swings on the front porch and smokes, and she sings softly, joyfully to the sparrows. Vanya smiles a lot. This is not my first time dancing. I came up here, wow.
9 years ago. Scary.
I read from this book, but I wanted to read from it today. Spring is coming. It's coming. I think it's tomorrow.
Yes, here.
Yesterday.
It's here.
So this is the seedier side of pollination. I would write love poems to you about the sex life of plants. Flowers, stamens, pistils, and such. Articulations on lateral and median nectaries, stigmas, styles, ovals, ovaries, sepals, petals, inveigling honeybees. Honeybees. Worker bees, queens, drones, pheromones, odd little poems, plush green, black soil, jade hummingbird, fat earthworm, roots, stems, leaves, sun blush, hush, quiet enough to hear celestial breath, swell fruits, stretch vines, sky worshipping branches, entranced, enchanted, odd little love poems to you, doomed to be pecked at by grackles and sparrows, shat into forgotten meadows, embedded in decaying leaves and dying grass, and earth and sheets, and winter sleep, deep acacia root. Butterflies and milkweed, bitter acorn flower, seedy little love poems full of sexy terms like germination, anther, filament, protandry. It would be in my nature to write to you of such things, to liken you to spring. All gods sing to call the birds. Every lover praises nectar, every poem a sacramental testament, ancient as honeycomb. I would write love poems to you about honeycombs, full of sexy terms like royal jelly. I might come back to this book. Okay. That's social. We have to be. Sorry. 1001 Abrasions in Life. Actually, that's copies today. It's the most recent book from October last year. Something like that. That's some. You would think after all these many years, the garden would learn its boundaries. And the gardener would know all there is to know by now. But how can one know how cold March or April might be? How many moons in May will lay hidden behind the clouds? How many sunsets in June will be crimson? And what will July bring? And somewhere deep beneath the roots is the truth. The garden grows beyond its bounds because it is love. The gardener is the lover, the soil beneath fingers, sacred, precious skin, the toil, the sweat, the intimacy of seed, the adulation of rain, the worship of deities with flowery names, and fruit as sweet as summer's nectar, as summer wanes, as fall becomes and the garden begins to fade. The gardener still loves in ways that knows no bounds. Mr. Guy called my daughter to eat one of her.
Not the only one.
Let's knock out a couple of these. Well, this is the catcher and the size. This is the in memory of Chase Kamada. Chase Kamada could not get some shit. But man, oh man, he was a hell of a pitcher, man. He would frame those balls up, and I mean, he would swear, man, these are balls, and he wouldn't even move his mitt, man. And he would, there's no way the umpire could tell that wasn't a strike. He was so good at throwing pitch, and he couldn't hit for shit. He was never gonna get it. But man, he was a good guy. This is Jamie. Catcher in the side. The memories of chasing the money. We were still in it, right up until the final pitch, and then the all-encompassing finality set the watchers and the casual passengers adrift towards a sea of what ifs, and there's always next season, only next season never came. COVID, don't mind every season. No, but anyway. Only next season never came. And our catcher, he died. Cracked skull, skateboard riding above the bluffs at midnight or sometime shortly after the loss. And the old hometown went back to what it always was. A couple of stops short of the majors. Snow globe champs, Jim Crow award, Yardbirds a hungry night when there's no pot hot enough to take away the big league chew. And now, to fly so far away from such things as last place, only to consecrate the ride with memorialized newspaper butterflies, exalting the night, a 200 hitter caught a tired extra inning heater right in the sweet spot. And somehow we all forgot about what it took to catch the game. To be the one squinting behind the plate, squatting, squinting, all the better to see our glittering bay, the strength it takes to make the throw to second base, to wait for next season, for something resembling a new wardrobe or new uniforms or uniform enlightenment. A lighter load at the end of the shovel. You want to know baseball? Those baseball players. I know they're. So at our little ballpark in here, Tuesday nights are usually pretty quiet. So there's an organization called Stairways.
The minor league setup there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bad season ballpark. But Tuesdays are pretty quiet, and we have an organization there called Stairways. And Stairways gives away about 1,000 tickets or so on Tuesdays. So I was at the stadium on client night. Like hot buttered popcorn, you could smell the crazy. like clinking cowbells and the fan yelling mucho verde at the Spanish batters, you could hear crazy. Like the foul poles painted bright yellow and topped with white little flags rising towards the game lights on a June night, you could see the crazy. No easy outs with crazy. The count is always full. No ground rules. Crazy always pops up and sacrifices flies and time and rationality. And crazy lights a cigarette in the stands. And crazy yells, "Kiss my ass!" And crazy gets escorted out by the elbow. One strike, you're out. Because you're crazy. But crazy always manages a comeback. Crazy is a rowdy cap turned sideways. Crazy is a pocket full of peanut shells and cracker jacks. Crazy is crowded. Crazy is stretching. Crazy is winding up. Crazy is warming up. Crazy is diving head first into third. Crazy is playing center field with the catcher's mitt. Crazy doesn't seem to see the difference. And crazy doesn't care about men left stranded. Crazy isn't checking the box score scores. Crazy can't be sent down or traded. Crazy is a logo. Crazy is a mascot, a bad hop, a ball lost in the sun. Crazy is jargon for those of us who like to think we're on the winning team. Crazy is in between the seams, just a bit outside and a little too close.
Wow.
Oh, I came across this. So, Ryan is an interesting dude from, where's Ryan from? Do you know Ryan? You know Ryan. He's from Asheville, Ohio. But anyway, he's interesting. So he did some, little chat books from, his press.
Oh, beautiful blasphemy?
Beautiful glass.
Okay, yeah, I know, yeah. That's a job.
So I sent him a little tiny chat book. And it was 7 poems. It was just supposed to be, these are the 7 poems I wrote. Didn't even have titles and some names. This one's called Thursday. But let's get some. I talked myself out of writing this poem. I don't remember the last time I read this poem. Probably 7 or 8 years. So I talked myself out of writing this poem. Something flirting with grass. Ice castle fishermen complaining about mid-January thaws, and then an anthropomorphized crocus buds telling said fishermen to shut the fuck up. There was a bathtub full of fantasies, assumptions, and intuition. A kitchen table you might want to give a good scrubbing to before setting down placemats, if only. And always alone when the pup wakes me up. The overflow of melting snow, swollen creeks, momentary wetlands, ambiguous strands encompassing her countenance, wanting to cradle my hands about her face. Lift her lips to my own as if she were spring water's humble cascades. If I was to write this poem, there would have been marching bands and calico kittens and covens of charming witches brewing beer in copper vats and sultry politicians wearing savvy business suits, comfortable but cute shoes, and weaving sustainable safety nets. Cardinals resting in pear trees, cowbirds raising their own brood, a fry cook with a limp and a snidely whiplash mustache. And I would have saved her from the oncoming train, or maybe she would have saved me. But I talked myself out of writing this poem. This poem where honeybees topple skyscrapers and turnip farmers are held in their proper esteem. And steamships bring oolong tea right up to your doorstep, and door-to-door salesmen peddle empanadas in full wrappings and empathy in bottles. Pity. I would have liked to see how this one ends. I don't know how close to the 20 minutes I am, but what's the funny one? Let's see. Yeah, do some social. I guess it's social work. All right, this is black bags. The fat man dropped 3 black bags of smack after the home invasion. There were babies involved, so against my better judgment, I told the nice officer lady where she should look. The cigarette man tells the other policeman what he saw. They were nice to him. There are 8 pin oaks and 1 sugar maple in the tree line behind my home. I could identify them by the time I was 9. There were some horse chestnut trees once upon a time, but they've long since died. He dropped them, I say, by the sugar maple. The officer asks the cigarette man his name, his number, what time is best to get a hold of him. They write it down on a little blackboard. They ask me for my birthday and social security number, then they run a warrant. My name comes up on police scanners all over the city. I watch the lady. She never looks up, never noticing the leaves. If she did, I have to wonder, could she even tell the difference? The policemen join her, and back and forth they walk the line, missing the black bags. That fat man came back later and he scooped them up. I suppose I could have helped. I could have said, officer, that is an oak tree and this is a maple. Not that it would have mattered. Couldn't see past the bark. All trees were suspect. There was one more. All right, let's do one more. All right, let's do it. No. Yeah, let's do this one. All right, I've read this poem twice. Sent this into, I don't know if you guys have heard of Beating a Cowboy. Check it out. There's some great poems on the site. The guy is just off. So, there's wonderful poems in this book. But if you look at it, you think it was something you pick up in some for bargain day, and please take this, and we'll give you a quarter to take this one. And yeah, but you would think that, okay, he made a mistake, he forgot to put the poet's names, and he just handwrote them. Every year it's the same, when I see one, he handwrote them, so that's his thing. But anyway, I was afraid to share this poem, because my dad showed it. I had a lot of readings. So I think this poem's probably about 15 years old, and when I sent it out for publication, he grabbed it up, and still, he's young, I never read this poem. My dad's always there, I'm afraid to read this poem from my dad. So, we're out of town, so it's safe to read this poem. So, this is Cousin Doobie passed me my first joy. I was 13. We stood beneath the pine trees, and he asked me who I liked in class. I told him no. He said, that can't be right. There must be someone. So I told him about Jenny. A kiss in front of the basketball trophies. He punched my arm and said, my man, tell me what happened next. Sister Lucille comes. And despite her palsy, she paddled me senseless. My ass was a hue of blue I've only ever seen once and have yet to see since. By the third hit of Doobie's trees, the pine trees were soft and fuzzy, and the azure sky was puffy with clouds. They held an infantile amazement. So why don't you like Jenny? Doobie's eyes squinting through the smoke. It's not that I don't like her, it's just she has a boyfriend, and she's white, and black boys aren't real boys to white girls. The sky was filled with Peter Cottontails and clown faces and the happy kind of clown faces, not the child terrorizing Pennywise, scary clown stuff. And there's cotton puffs sprouting in my mouth. And Doobie says, forget that old nun, kiss anyone you want to. Now it feels like there's a box of tissue stuffed between my teeth and my gum and my cheek, and all I can do is smile and nod and sit amid the pine needles and Doobie pods. He cajoles me. Tell me more about that real boy shit. And I whisper my parched condition, and he offers me a swig of my father's Stroh's. It helps, but only slightly. Another swig of beer, and the teary-eyed story of yet another classmate, Julie, prettiest girl with a unibrow you ever saw. On a dare, I asked her to ride the rides with me at Waldemar Park. Class trip, she said yes, even held my hand. We rode the Sky Ride and the Spider and the Tilt-A-Whirl, and right before we went to the Wacky Shack, she said it. I want to go in here with a boy. I don't know what she thought I was, but I knew what she meant. And Doobie said, forget that thick eyebrow chick too. And with that, Doobie became Buddha. Before I knew who Buddha was, he preached love and kindness. He was a light-skinned Dr. King preaching oneness. He was Richard Pryor with a southern drawl. He was the only one that ever told about Julie. And then the bunny rabbits and the happy clowns told me to go in the house and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and have a big glass of milk and watch cartoons. The Flintstones were on, and so I did just that. And Doobie sat on my parents' front lawn, content to watch the animated sky. Yeah, thanks, Dorothy. Thank you guys for listening.
Can I get you guys to, sit up there for a few minutes?
Q&A time.
Oh,
Don't worry.
Questions, responses for our two lovely poets.
Really enjoyed the crazy baseball. Brought back many memories of smiling because I painted usually in high school and playing in Europe or something like that. Interesting, crazy.
you're good enough about it. Right.
But I was playing third base.
Why do you like baseball homes? Because it's kind of a dangerous thing to do. Like baseball is, it's sort of axiomatically a great subject for poetry because it's so slow. So I've written plenty of baseball poems. You have too. Why are you not afraid of doing that?
Okay, so, I watch a lot of Dodgers games. And there's a pitcher named Brewster Gratton. And I remember when the Dodgers signed him from the international. So Brewster Gratton, 19 years old, comes to America from Venezuela. He's pitching in the Dodgers system, finally makes it to the majors when he was about 25, 26 years old. He's pitching for the Dodgers for 3-4 years, making plenty of money, but he hasn't seen his mother since he was 19 years old. Couldn't get her in the country, all kinds of problems. There was some issues with visas and travels, and apparently the father had some connections with not so savory people. So finally, they get her to America, and they don't even tell him. She's in the stands, and he goes out and closes a game, gets the save. He wasn't even the closer. Evan Phillips was the closer. And then he sees his mom in his hand. How the hell do you not write a poem about that kind of stuff? So baseball is, and there's so much of it, man. There's 162 games to the season. It's on almost every single day, and I'm sure that a lot of us, getting moments where we're writing every day. So how are you not writing about what's in front of you almost every moment of that 6-month period? So
This suggests that you have to go to the Dominican Republic in January.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, man, you mentioned that, so for some reason, like the streaming from the MLB.com or whatever sucks. So you get it, you might get it through Amazon, where it's a much better streaming system. So Amazon sends me information at the end of the season about the price change, you know, okay, end of the season, it's not as much. So it's like $6.99. But there's still stuff going on, the Dominican League. So, yes, keep my service going. I only expect to pay $6.99. I want to watch these Dominican games. They charge me $30 in the off season.
Whoa.
So I'm fighting with Amazon. Like, so they're like, okay, well, we'll cut it off and then we'll give you. Well, no, I don't want you to cut it off. I want it for $6.99. I did not get to see any Dominican games this year. I don't know.
So, did you write a poem about that?
There's a poem or two about that.
You're a worse addict than I am.
Yeah, there's that during the pandemic, it was like, you know, watching Korean baseball. Yeah. So, yeah.
I liked how you wove in a lot of nature within your poems. I mean, you're writing a lot of city stuff and people related, but there's a lot of nature references. So I really like that you did that.
Well, you know, I grew up in a mid-sized city, here's nothing. So I guess I started fishing when I was 5, you know, so, you know, it's a big part of my life, and why, you know, sometimes spent outside nature, so, yeah, you know, I think I started gardening when I was a teenager. And it's still something we do, you know, 40-some years later, so, it's nice. I think you're all right, Bob.
You and me sound like twins. To be honest, you.
I hear fishing and gardening and.
Nature?
Yeah, they're outdoors.
The
Bring
Dodgers.
it in, doctors, yeah. My team.
All right, so you were up on Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Everybody else.
Yeah. Well, I was a fan, I go way back to the Brooklyn Dodger days when I was a kid, and Mom would, you know, she associated with the Brooklyn team because the rest of the family were Yankee fans, and she was gonna have none of that, you know, so she was a Dodger fan, and I took after that. But yeah, it goes way back in the roots.
But he gets to see, we don't have any kind of media. Stop it. But he gets to watch the ones as they get out or whatever on the little squares on the.
Oh, okay, I've done it. I've done it.
But, do you know what's the, second, the, from, or whatever, the minor league,
It's okay.
the longest minor league game
What's the
in
longest
the
one?
history?
What's that?
You don't know
No, I don't know.
it? It was between the Rochester, whatever the name was.
Okay.
It was upstate, I don't know if it was Rochester.
It was in Rochester and the Rhode Island, whatever. And it went all night, it went over, it went 15, 16, 18. They finally got hold of the commissioner because they couldn't end it without anybody telling them. So they just played.
Wow, how many innings?
I think it went 22 maybe.
Wow, that's amazing.
That might be too much baseball.
That is amazing.
They could play again if they needed his permission.
A Red Sox game.
Yeah, they're
Like 18 innings?
Yeah, there was a Sox game that went close.
Can I ask you, Kat, I have a question for you, and this could, you both could probably jump in on this, but you mentioned your neighbors. And I know Erie is, a really good literary town, for its size, it punches way above its weight for its size, so, what role do your neighbors play in your writing?
Are you talking about neighbors as in like the people in my town or like my literal like right next door neighbors?
Any way, I think the people in town, or any way you want to define it, see, you both wrote about clearly, explicitly and generally about people in your town, but you want to both talk about it?
Well, sometimes my pieces are things, they come out of things I wish I could have said in the moment. Like if I find myself at a table where I feel outnumbered, everyone is kind of on a different wavelength. Or like something bothers me, but I can't put it into words right away. I don't know if you guys feel like that sometimes, like I need to chew on it a little bit to figure out how to, like, how to deal. So sometimes it, like, it'll sit for a little bit and then it'll come out like, my response of what I wish I would have said in the moment or whatever. Like, so sometimes like the neighbors, like people I rub elbows with can influence stuff like, you know, someone will say an opinion that I strongly disagree with, but I can't put it into words about why or where my stance is. And then I'll chew on that, like, no, I know I disagree, but I can't put my argument into words. And so I'll chew on that until I can have some sort of something. Until I can find the words for it, and then I get it on paper. So sometimes the people in my life help me kind of figure out what I'm about just by contrast, if that makes sense.
Are you guys, because I know you're very active in your literary community locally, right? And you do a lot of local events. Are you ever reluctant to write about people in your community? Because it seems like you do.
Never reluctant to write about it, always reluctant to share it.
Well, and especially depending on who's in the room. Like, cause I might not necessarily say who it's about, you know what I mean? Or like what inspired it. So like, there have been times, especially back in the bookstore days, you know, we used to read at the Erie bookstore way back when, which doesn't exist anymore. So that's like a little capsule of time. But so sometimes some of my poems at that time were to other people in my poetry group, but I wouldn't expressly tell them that. So I'm more subversive that way, but I might read a piece to someone in the crowd, but they don't know it's to them. You know, sometimes that happens, or sometimes it's a response. So, like, Keith Moses, who typically doesn't stay after the reading, so you can't talk to him. So you talk to him through a piece, like, so he wrote a poem called Questions, which is not really a poem, it's more of a song, because it actually has soundtrack and all that good stuff. But he asked some questions. He's like, I don't have a lot of answers, I just have a lot of questions. And one of his questions was about Jesus. He's like, you know, forget exactly how it goes, but he's like, basically like, did Jesus die for nothing? Like, I can just keep sinning and sinning and sinning, and it doesn't matter because my sins are covered. And I was like, but you're missing the point. And so I was like, how do I articulate my answer to that? Of like, that was one of those, like, I wish I could put down my, like, I disagree, but how do I disagree, right? So I had to come up with like words for that. And so I was like, Pete, this one's for you. So I mean, that one actually did, like, this one's a response to your piece. And then I read the verse of his. And then I'm like, this is, so for people that weren't familiar with his stuff, I'm like, this is what I'm responding to, is this verse. And I read like 4 lines. And I'm like, you know, do you want to keep going forward and back, or do you want to have a path that keeps going? Like, otherwise you're just taking that first step again and again. Like, that's kind of pointless.
How did he react to that?
Anyway.
Keith is amazing, absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, hip hop artist, so you know, but he'd get up there and he would do this spoken word stuff, and he'd be sitting there, your mouth would be like, no, and you want to talk to the brother, but the second that last line is out of his mouth, he's out the damn door. Like, yeah, I didn't know his name for like 2 years. Yeah, Keith was something else.
Yeah, it's so.
Scott, you know,
About the middle of last decade, 15 or 16 or 17, 18, I don't know. So I was featured in Erie,
Mhm.
and see, you were Port Laureate, and he had that Forest Hall, which I thought was the coolest thing ever,
It was.
because we got stoned before I read
It was the coolest thing ever.
it. Remember that part, but anyway, no, it was really, and it was in a hotel. On the second floor.
Oh, okay, that was Poets Hall too.
And I think
That wasn't the original.
that was a good venue.
Could you talk about Poets Hall? That was Poets Hall too, where I also read and listened to some great stuff, but there was a Poets Hall one. Can you talk about how you did that? Because that's kind of an amazing thing.
The original Poets Hall, you know what, it's funny?
There's a picture
Oh,
in the chat book of the original Poets Hall.
But in the bookstore or?
yeah, it was, no, it was
It was just a
it
strict poetry venue.
was a standalone
It was
facility.
Really
It
cool.
wasn't very big, I don't know, maybe 450 square feet, but man, oh man, we used to pack that place, I mean. You know,
Little
sometimes
storefront like
40,
this,
50
but little
people,
different.
they're sitting on top of each other.
Mhm.
The Poets Hall, I was completing a collection for who? And I had taken some money to finish it, and I wasn't anywhere near done with it. So I rented a space so that I could be away from everybody and complete the project. And then I just ended up keeping it, and then we just, put a stage in the middle of it, and painted the whole thing black, and opened it up for poetry. And stuff. Yeah,
That was special.
it was special. We approached them all over. San Francisco, we were in your PA. We'll come from San Francisco, read, like this little town, but it was amazing.
And sometimes poets would be on like a book tour, and we were the only stop between several major cities, so it made sense for them to come and stop, because
Well,
where else are they gonna go,
at the time, it was the only, I think it was the only brick and mortar establishment that focused solely on poetry, that was not on a college campus between New York City and Chicago. So you had to go, so, we did a lot of folks here.
You could feel that energy in the room when I just got to read there once, but I also heard stuff there, and it was just,
It's amazing.
it was electric.
people hung out there.
It was,
Wasn't a reading, so.
I don't even think it was as big as this room, and one night we had almost 100 people there.
Wow.
An open mic list, it was like 30 people or something. I mean, it took like 4 hours to get through the reading that night, but,
No one complained, it was just
No,
amazing.
no. just on top of each other, people didn't even know, that lap looks okay.
We need to ask you, but like, what's there now?
They converted the whole building, there's no storefronts anymore, they converted all storefronts into apartments, so there's no. Nothing there, for a while, it was like a home health aid, and then. Now it's just apartments, so.
I got one more question for you, and then ask what everybody else does. They have, but there's so much specificity in your work, particularly you, especially, that's a hard thing to talk to young poets about. I think they don't trust the fact that their specific experience is important enough to write about. The names, the details. They're always like, "Oh, nobody wants to hear that." I'm like, no. They really do want to hear it. Like, you don't understand that's where it's at. Did you talk about that? About like how that all enters your work?
Oh, yeah, I tell you what, we have, the creative writing program, like, Penn State Baron, there here. So, at the time that we were running the hall, the students would come. And there was something very verboten, actually had a term for it, called the native. And that somehow it was verboten about, write about what's happening, on the inside, or what's happening around you. You had to mask it and make it thing, like some third party thing happening. And admittedly, the professor over there was very talented, his students were very good writers. But you would listen to them, and there was nothing in the work that told you that this person wrote this poem. And that for me, it's always been the most powerful pieces of poetry are the ones that only this person could have written. So, the specificity, that's why I write the way I do. Because I don't think I want to produce something that anybody else could have written. Even if I'm not sending poetry out the way I should be, it's still, this is me. So I don't want to put out I believe it's still be better. Almost.
Okay. Yeah, the question. To either of you or to both of you, my question is, I hate to bring this up, but given the last 4 months of our lives, yeah, have you, in regard to your energies in creative writing, have you gone energized, deflated, neutralized, or all of the above?
I would probably go with probably the last two, played and neutralized.
Yeah.
You were putting out a poetry magazine every other month. And, yeah, I work for the election department back home, some pretty good stuff, and, the polls were starting. It's about 3 weeks before the election, and I think that's about what I think of all. So I knew Pennsylvania was gonna go the way it went. Erie County was going to go the way it went. And so, maybe some people were shocked by this whole thing, but it was like, I was preparing myself. And I'm still at that point where I'm like, how do you vote for stupid twice? But, I don't want to. So yeah, I would say deflated. I'm hoping that, this trip up here gets me back to where we were, and, getting the magazine out every other month, everywhere. Definitely. It doesn't inspire me, right?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Grow my garden and all of the things.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've come to a reading, and I have to say that I read more than I write, and as a librarian, the last 30 years of my work was reading book reviews. And in this community, there's not a real big call for poetry.
I'm sure.
And I have to admit that I struggle with trying to understand, okay? Mary Oliver certainly has been someone who's opened the door for me. I like to read poems aloud, having loved ones die, and then finding a poem by Marge Piercy that really spoke to me, okay? So your specificity really calls to my soul. And on NPR recently, they had an interview a couple mornings ago. And the 2 words I got out of it were self-efficacy. And I thought to myself, I'm going to post that on my Facebook page. Because we need to stay in tune with what's going on in our country. But we need to be cautious about not letting it destroy our creativity. And I just bless you for what you're doing. I hope it won't take a long time before you get through any dry spells and that you feed your soul. Because I'm just delighted with both of you. This has been wonderful this morning. So. And I'm from Chautauqua County, so we always shop in Erie.
Shop Erie, everybody. That's the. I can't end things on a better note. That's it. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Steve. I'll give everybody just a couple of minutes because I think we're running. Oh, yeah, running behind. So a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back and do our open mic. All right. Thank you.
Think John says that. But I'm probably from the end.
And then put out the reduction. I had a process for that one.
And then we put mine, you should go. Okay, so I was thinking. It's, I want to. I'm just proud. But I love it. And I'm not hearing it. Okay. My grandson, my son. So we're gonna choose something about that, whether. Yeah, and one of the books that I read, and I did. So it's like, you know, it's sort of thing, but people. Right. Well, I could have gone to written on he read here. And a Greek like. It's hard on the cat. She also. Something. She is. She jumps.
You're right, it takes, it's in practice.
There's no, you know.
Level.
There's no walls.
Yes.
When you were.
There's nothing like. There's nothing like hearing a 4-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so. I gotta tell you. So. Well, I went to Jersey. My library. So I. Alleys. And never left. When they all. CBS.
Kind of on the side of my life, like it's there. Involved with that. It came more important. So it's like. Yeah. So that's what I felt.
We had those time your this like approach with. Yeah, so, yeah, the first time I mentioned last was that the. Yeah.
Well, it would probably couple people. Farms. Yeah. He's not doing well known at all.
Okay.
He died back.
Yeah, you're.
We'll just do
Yeah.
I heard more.
As someone once told me, why so I never think. And it's sort of. It was really mad, really like.
I got a great place there.
He didn't start writing.
Did you like that?
Give me some bucks.
Well, there is that.
Alright. You got it.
Building on the natural. That's why I should do all that. Here, so that we're-
I mean, really have to be for a while.
My first glimpse of
Somebody in
Yeah.
Is there anyone that wants to read, who did not sign up? Are you looking, you're looking to be like? Anybody else did not sign up? Okay. I give it one more thing, one thing to count thing, then we'll get started. Gotta do that first. Once you get it. You're gonna go. All right, hi folks, yeah, have your attention, please. Thank you. I just want to point out that there are some books for sale over there from Cat and C. What are the titles?
Cutouts, it's the
Cutouts
Poet's Hall book.
from Poets Hall, and C, you've got Poetry for Cats and,
Tales from the 1001 Raisins of Life.
okay. All for sale for a reasonable price. Okay, if you're interested, see these folks, the books are over there, you can check them out. And we'll get started with our open mic. And then, as soon as we finish with the open mic, I'm just gonna say this ahead of time, we're gonna go down to Gaslight Grill for dinner, assuming they're still open. So anybody who wants to join us is totally welcome, come on down, and, yeah. Mangiamo, yes, exactly. Bill, since you just said that, you went up here, go Waterhouse, everybody.
So I'm not gonna actually read anything, but we look up the longest baseball game, professional baseball game. Pawtucket Red Sox and Rochester Red Wings, two AAA International League teams. Longest game over 3 days in 1981. The game lasted 33 innings, so I had 10 more of those. 8 hours and 25 minutes. The first 32 innings were played overnight from April 8th to 9th. 1981, McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket, and the tie-breaking 33rd inning was played June 23rd. game 3-2. So interesting stat, the attendance at the start of the game was 1,740. How many people were there at the end of the 32nd inning? Not the 33rd. Don't pretend, we had 20 people there. Can you imagine sitting deep into it? That's a lot of beer.
Boy, those teams must have had bad beer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
They were all good.
after the whatever, the game was 3-2, so there must have been 2-2.
Michael, I saw that team play in Pawtucket in 1982. Wade Boggs was on that team.
Wow.
Greatest hitters of all
Dang.
time. Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking at it, Pawtucket tied it up in the bottom of the ninth, and then in the 21st inning, both teams scored a run. So they must have been pretty bummed out. And it was very good. Anyways, yeah, we'll call it so much later. So,
Wow.
thank you very much. Good one.
The water has big worse. So that's worse than the Jack Johnson, Jess Willard fight, which I think went like, I don't know, how many rounds? Do you know that? Like 40 rounds. 37-year-old Jack Johnson finally stayed out, and that was it.
Wow.
Yeah, 37 rounds of boxing. Teresa Deering. Why do I not see you?
Oh.
Mary?
Teresa, hi,
Yes.
I just called your name.
Oh, you called my name?
Are you coming up here?
No.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
Sir? No, I just, somebody sends me a list and I automatically put my email address.
She just sang here.
All right. Next time, Leanne and Walt Franklin.
All right.
Together?
I don't like poetry. I am not a poetry person,
First.
but you said something earlier on about being from Denver. And it made brought up a memory. So I don't know if it's poetry, but it's truth. Visiting my father in Eagle, Colorado in the countdown for the season. Story of driving back from Denver and his stop at a rest area. He asks a young woman if he could sit with her. She said she was recently married and her husband wanted to stop and fish. When asked how long they had been married, she looked at her watch and responded, 45 minutes.
That's my kind of guy.
Well, you never know.
Good luck, Walt.
Yeah, thanks.
That was his choice, so.
I don't have any fishing stories today. I do have a few, but I don't have them. This called Zoring, as in soaring, but with a Z instead of the S.
Enjoy that.
Zor Valley forms a canyon near Delawanda, New York, once the largest blue producer anywhere. The biblical Zor, a mix of posted property, state forest land and natural preserve, is drained by brawling feeders of Lake Erie. Hiking through the old growth canyon land, we live with mink and winter wren, green leeks, and blue hepatica. The massive trees, basswood, elm, and sycamore, resist approach along precipitous slopes. The wayward who ignore the warnings posted there could face a tumbling into the creek, and tumbling intro into the creek. A Zoring finish where the steelhead run. It's a good place to visit. We checked out the Zor Valley. It's an interesting location. Steelhead are probably running right there. This one was called Rewilding, Pennsylvania poem again. Well, the other one wasn't technically a PA poem, but Canoeing Upper Pine in June returns it. Visions of Susquehannock, green and lively, raised above its usefulness to a long float with wife and friends. We glide through pools and riffles, thinking Susquehannock will remain but a dream unless there's a common drive to preserve wild nature. These primeval landscapes will succumb to piecemeal development of structures built from boredom and from wealth. Merganser families drift beneath the cliffs and giant trees. A camper shouts, "Hey, come back next year. We'll sell you beer and wieners." I'm not the angler now, but a paddler rattling with the kayaks, floating mile on mile, alert for strainers, boulders, narrow chutes. We're woven into places like a trout or an osprey. If our threads get torn, if our craft goes down, we'll grab some wayward items, laughing in a storm of rushing water. One more, called balloons. I'm not a big fan of balloons. They descend from all directions. Gifts from birthday celebrants, kindergarten graduates, the National Weather Service, even an Easter message from Ohio stating, "He has risen. Please respond." I'm intrigued by random worlds colliding with my own, so I send a pagan message to an address offered by the bright balloon. I'll wait for Jesus to come drifting on an egg-shaped dirigible, special delivery in a gas bag from the red-orange sky. I'll think about the news today. Satellite debris has yet to fall and strike a human being, but it struck and killed domestic cows in Cuba. Here among bruised hills and gushing valleys where the birds, fish, and foxes all creation, shimmering balloons arrive like garbage tossed from cars. And yet, there's refuge in a dream of Eden, a balloon ride somewhere in the depths of mind, cocooned in a dangling basket, steering my way to paradise, wrestling with a lover or a demon if I choose. Ambiguity, my sweet deliverance, my adaptation into anything I want to be. Yeah.
I've got two poems tonight. First one is called From a Distance. The flowering crab still glows as clouds shift from cotton to smoke. The tree lifts her ruffled variations on a theme of pink. Dark blood of the buds opening into rose, like the palm of a hand whose fingers are fading to froth. Honey wind of evening in the season of lilacs, your mouth open to mine, your lips warm. Each semaphore of desire suspending even the on-off blinking of being as minutes ease down the lid of darkness and nail it shut. From a distance, vanishing limbs are graceful, if irregular, a history of reaching, of growth. We need to be skin close to witness how all beauty is damaged to perfection. Far off, A bullet stops a boy's heart or shatters a girl's eye. But this is far away. Perhaps we are all just creatures desiring annihilation one way or another. Beauty wants to hold us back. From a distance, the trees a phantom in darkness. She lulls us, luminous gray, a memory of safety. And the second one of the things I'm keenly aware of as I am very disturbed and dismayed by our current time is how important it is to hold on to what's close to us. The people we love, the miracle just of being, of waking up another day in those few seconds before you check the phone. This one's called Castaway. On morning's half-dark shore, I wake to marvel. You are still lying here, alive, beside me, still waiting to be discovered. The strange, familiar landscape of your body emerging in tenuous light. Beneath the sinuous ridges of sheets, you are still a dragon year of possibility. In your sleep's imperfect stillness, breath's subtle harmonies break gently on the gray shore of your bodhisattva home. Our beds half tent, half temple, as I watch color waking into the world. Hear her chant. Our bed is green. The beams of our house are cedar. Stranded on time's eroding coast, we pitched our tent of longing, incomplete. Still, morning returns with all her miracles, and glory touches our tame, safe life with our small fears running like mice in the rafters. Years have carved the stone of us with strange inroads, stranger likenesses. Time's runes are still impossible to read, written as they are on sand. Yet, from the wreck, you reach for me once more.
I have an announcement first, couple of announcements. April 28th, Watkins Glen, George is going to be our featured reader. We've got a reading series in Watkins Glen during our 31st year. So George is starting a new season out for us on the 28th of April. And then 26th of April, I co-host one of the other reading series I co-host is in Corning. It's called Poets in Play. And we're going to do a Poets in Play all day, April 26th. It's going to be an all-day poetry event at the Arts Council in Corning. And G.S. Murphy's going to be one of the readers. He's right here. Some of you know G.S. Tamar's coming over from New Jersey. Craig Cherry's going to do a poem fusion workshop.
No grade too.
Yeah, you know Craig too, of course. And our special featured poet is Bento Workman from Sweden. You know that? Yeah, I met him in Sweden last year. We became good friends and he's coming out for this. So he'll be he's the beat poet laureate of Sweden.
Wow.
And really very, yeah, I want to say anything about him since you.
He writes, he has an interesting, method. English is not his first language. And sometimes he'll pick out like 3 or 4, English words and write and like decide he has like vocab words. And then he makes a poem from those. So I thought that was a fascinating process.
Yeah, he's a really good speaker of his poetry too, really. So he's going to be the featured poet the 26th of April. If you're interested in that, and I don't have your email or so, leave it with me and we'll be getting word out soon. I wanted to read one poem, but there was something else I wanted to say. When you're asked about writing, about neighbors and people in the poem, and well, if we're close to home, maybe not, you know. And one time I was doing its oral memoir. It's called See, It Was Like This, and it's about growing up in the sixties and into the early seventies. And I was in Hornell, well, at Popeyes, remember Popeyes? It was a used bookstore, record store, and they had a little performance space out back. And I was doing this oral memoir, and part of the memoir was about this back to the land community I was involved with down in that area, down Greenwood, where Walt and Leanne lived. And I'm telling some stories from there, and you know, there's people sitting in the couches, and there are a few people standing out in the aisles by the books or whatever, you know, sort of listening, but they don't want to be real close, right? So I get to this one point, and I say, yeah, there was this old timer who lived up the hollow, Rachel McKay. And this voice comes from the aisles. You watch what you say about Rachel. He's my uncle, you know. And I thought, oh, close to home here. You know? I changed the story a little bit, just a little bit. Close to home. I just want to read one poem that I always like to read at this time of the year. I live way out in the country, do a little bit of maple sugaring every year. Been doing that for a long time. And this is called Finishing Another Season of Sugaring. And one reference here to the bird, American woodcock. I don't know if some of you are familiar with their mating ritual and that, so I just mentioned them in here. If you haven't gone out to see the mating ritual of woodcock, make a point of doing that. It's really cool.
The last night of winter, the other night,
Yep.
I saw a complete flight from start
Oh.
in the wind, circling around to finish. It was good.
Yeah, wonderful, yeah. And they'll be active probably till early May, depending on what the spring is like. So finishing another season of sugaring. How many years drilling holes, hanging buckets, gathering sap, building fire, boiling down at this turn of the season, snowdrifts in woods, woodcock in dusky sky, this final boiling as I feed dry maple into fire pit under old roasting pan, roiling away, steam ascending upward as I reach down for dessert wine kept in snowbank and maple ice. Sweet coolness as hot sap evaporates into nearly dark sky. And I wonder, how much boiling down must I do to reach my own sweet essence? Thank you.
Scott Myers. Stop.
Call from the doctor that I didn't know what it is. He said, it's a 3-week cough. You cough 3 weeks. So I got some water here just in case I cough in the middle of it. We'll open my greeting. I still live in Buffalo, but we over happen to live here. And we live here, an hour from here, and in Canandaigua, and that is where we managed each year. I believe my one, but I didn't. We managed each week to each day to go to Lake Canandaigua and have a great pier off the lake. You do it on the main street, you keep driving past from the main street end and get out of the pier. So this is called goals. Hundreds of peaceful travelers swarm and squawk, thicken the air around her hair and ground around her feet, demanding a share of the fries and popcorn. They dive down hungry, whether winter urgency or summer greed. Once a winged guard calls, They flock to the ground, excepting a few who take any air from her hand. These flying white messengers from dead return hungry for commercial crumbs, mob us on the pier from Score Island to say, useless human, we're here. You on our place, we're on in the afterlife. Okay, now, for 11 years, I was a blacksmith at a place about an hour from here called the Folk Art Guild. And this poem was written after that, called, not called, I'm gonna drink some water for it. Called Steel Dreams. Bars, rods, and pipes, sleep on the racks, overseeing the whole dusty forge. This one thinks, let me be the steel, be hot, quenched and hit, hot, quenched and hit, hot, quenched and hit, over, to be a sharp, hard sword, just like a dropped leaf. One imagines life as a sconce, resting on a wall, with oil and fire inside, lighting the way. And still another steel bar hammered into a hook, then ground down to a shiny pool, taking up to hold coats, hats, or pots. Who notices their pleasure, the still resistance of the hydrant beneath our dog's teeth? The satisfaction of the pipe to pass water, of cords, or electricity. Steel has come to our aid in peace and war. It has made our houses and our bridges strong. We have whacked it to make shoes for the horses. And when we die, placed in stone, it makes our memories last. I'm gonna dare read the third one. Have you ever Googled your own name? Oh, I did that. I did that. So this poem is called Google. After my grandmother. Did you ever Google your name? Googling my name finds a Scott Williams was famous as a basketball star, boxer, pastor, comic book artist, musician, physicist, and several mathematicians. Fame, not just 7 or 8 people plagued by 2 surnames, Scott Williams. The reverse, William Scott, is not that illness. Still you find an actor, an artist, a bodybuilder. Why do folks reverse my name? In high school, I fought William Scott and friends who didn't like my name. The FBI came to my house to arrest a William Scott. Bill Scott is what I am named twice weekly at dialysis. University students call me Dr. Bill for years. Scott is a brand for toilet paper. That verse is my middle school nickname, TP. An insertion of the middle W is my mother's family soul input. My father's brother, Scott A. Williams, was a painter who colored me on my math journey. Scott and Williams are my grandmother's maiden and her married name. Great-grandpa's surname, Scott, enslaved to a Confederate colonel who died at Gettysburg, was healed by my grandma's free mother. Great-grandpa later died as Buffalo Soldier Scott. As a draft dodger, I moved to Buffalo.
Scott A. Williams, W.
Well, I shouldn't say that, I forgot to say
See,
that,
I can't,
Sunday,
I gotta Google you again.
on Sunday in Geneva, our poetry event with G.S. Murphy starts up again. 1 o'clock is poetry. We have 2 readers, 2 feature readers, David Delaney and David Nixon. But, that's it. 1 o'clock Sunday at Empire Coffee and Donuts.
This Sunday or next?
This
Sunday?
coming Sunday, 2 days from now.
Good,
Okay.
good donuts, good
No,
coffee.
I don't like donuts.
Not the donut.
I'm not a donut guy. For me, they were good donuts. They have a nice, they also have a nice
Yeah.
rainbow in the back.
They weren't allowed to have donuts last year,
Yeah.
but now the law said they can have donuts.
All the more reason.
They can have donuts. Okay, no, the 4th Sunday is actually tomorrow, Sunday.
Already.
Yeah.
Maybe a little music there. Anybody know this piece of music? Anybody?
So,
Beautiful, already. Called Song to the Moon. From the opera Wolper. There's a reason I'm doing this.
I
here.
saw that
Yes, beautiful.
last year at Santa Fe Opera.
It's beautiful. So this is Song to the Moon. That song is a maiden sitting on the shore of a lake, thinking about the moon and praying that the moon will bring her and her lover together. So, Song to the Moon. I haven't always been alone. Years ago, a nymph laid prone beside a pool as still and cold as decades of vacant stairs. I haven't always been afraid that someone would catch me weeping when the woman turned her gaze to the moon and all she couldn't see. I hadn't always lost her to the glow of a demi-planet on the still black surface of a pond obscured by desire. I haven't always believed this vision had a melody as celestial as the bell song and 3 times as toxic. I haven't always known that death can occupy a lake the way a kiss can occupy the mind of a mirage. I want to tell you, before too many years have passed, that when you are alone and the love of your life is gone into the moon and blemished sky, you should not abandon hope, but close your eyes and hear the orchestras flourish and voices risen from the earth. Then look to that looking glass pool and listen again to the nymph who has been waiting for the moon to hear her sing you its forgotten song. That's the non-specific poem, the metaphorical poem, the other thing I try to get. Another metaphorical poem, none of this related in any way to my life, or maybe not. I wrote this on Wednesday when I was in New York City, so it is sort of related to my life. City of the dead, city of the living. Skyscraping tombstones filled with moving bodies. Scaling fingers scrape cold walls and blinking eyes know that they are crypts, challenging the sky, bleeding money on saturated ground while throbbing veins bear people to places they used to tingle like skin. In one borough, a group of young women leave an office that used to be filled with bodies, now filled with their stories of what used to be, stories of loss, and ways to give love names and faces that have gone to an elusive promise of a country. In another borough, a group of young men knit a new flag that borrows the lost colors of streets from cloth that used to clothe their vanished comrades. When they ask these comrades in prayer where they've gone, the answers arrive: to another family, not to this one, never again. Hope is too much. In a borough at the center of things, a child reaches out to touch the petals of a crocus growing sidewalk bound near a tree that soars toward the bodies flailing unseen in the sky. Um, I guess that's how I was feeling about being in New York. It's been taking a long time. So I didn't put myself last tonight because I cannot follow the last person in our open mic. No one can. Beth, oh, come on. Beth, Billy Swoboda, everybody. Here she comes. Beth.
Yeah.
Beth.
Okay, I tend to write personal stuff. Also, I have a writing addict. I mean, I am definitely, I have to work at not writing. So it's ridiculous. But I had a couple there that I thought, okay, one's called Floco. Toss her in the washer to get rid of the stain. The hot water agitation may modify the brain. When she is finished spinning her out to dry, where did this ramen come from? Or better question. Missing. Go from a week ago. The music's gone missing. I don't know what's wrong. The music's gone missing. There is no song. No notes or vibrations. No healing tones. The silence surrounds me. I'm lost in the zone. Is I have a friend who's an Irish musician, so I think about this song every time. And on the 60th birthday, I wrote the song and I wanted to share. Actually, I wrote another one with Sylvia, my dwells of her, and she's back there. She's really gonna get me hell when I get home, but I didn't bring her up. But I don't care, we're running around and we can go along. So this is another Irish lesson.
Pretty good.
The news, you continue to. It's gone. I'm sorry. Go back to Sylvia and see if she can give you.
Sylvia.